Lesson 1-8, Divide Integers. Example 1, negative 160 divided by 4. We could use a number line to try to figure this out. We know that we're dealing with the number negative 160 and dividing it into 4 equal parts. So we're trying to figure out what these numbers in between are. And so you might recognize that it looks like each part would have to be negative 40, that it's got intervals of 40 between each marking. That tells us that this is negative 40. Another way that we could figure this out is we could think about this in terms of a multiplication problem. Oops. So we could say 4 times what number equals negative 160? Well, we know it's going to be a negative, and 4 times 4 is 16, so 4 times 40 is 160. So that was a different way we could solve this. From this, we're able to derive a rule. When dividing two integers with different signs, the quotient will be negative. It's just the same as the multiplying integers rule. So you could actually say when multiplying or dividing two integers with different signs, the answer will be negative. Example 2, we have negative 27 divided by negative 30. We could approach this by thinking of a multiplication problem that we could use to figure out what's missing. We could say negative 3 times something equals negative 27. So I just kind of think through my multiplication facts for a moment, and I think, what times 3 is 27? And I remember that that's 9. So then I'll just see if my signs match up. When multiplying different signs, a negative times a positive, the answer will be negative. So they do. So that tells me that this will be a positive 9. So from this, I could write a rule. When dividing two integers with the same signs, the quotient is positive. So whether they're both negative or they're both positive, the answer will always be positive. And once again, this is like multiplying integers. You could use them in a rule together. You could say when multiplying or dividing two integers with the same signs, the answer will be positive. Example 3, which of the following are equivalent to negative 5? Notice there are 6 answer choices, and this is a type of problem where you could have multiple answer choices. If you saw this on a standardized test, it would probably have a little checkbox beside each answer choice, and you could just click as many of them as are equivalent to negative 5 that you choose. So all of these are just using your integer rules. So I'm going to start with the first one. Remember, a fraction line also means divide. So 55 divided by 11 is 5. And I had a positive divided by a positive, so the same signs mean that we get a positive answer. So positive 5, is it equivalent? No. We're looking for negative 5. Then we have a negative outside of parenthesis, so I'm going to keep it outside this group. And positive 55 divided by positive 11 is positive 5. But I keep the negative because there was a negative outside the parenthesis. So is this equivalent to negative 5? Yes. The next choice, negative 55 over 11, we'll have a negative divided by a positive, which is a negative, and 55 divided by 11 is 5. Is this equivalent to negative 5? Yes. Then we have negative 55 over a negative 11. I have a negative divided by a negative, which means we'll have a positive answer. And 55 divided by 11 is 5. Is this equivalent to negative 5? No. Our next choice, we have positive 55 divided by negative 11. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. And 55 divided by 11 is 5. So is this equivalent? Yes. Our last choice has lots of negative signs. So we have a negative outside of parenthesis. And so we'll work what's in the parenthesis. Negative 55 divided by a negative 11 is a negative divided by a negative, which is a positive. And 55 divided by 11 is 5. So what's in the parenthesis is a positive 5, but that negative outside it makes this a negative 5. Is this equivalent? Yes. So we have 4 choices that were equivalent to negative 5. Now you try a couple of problems, divide, and then come back, pause this and come back and check your answer in just a little bit. So on our first problem, negative 20 divided by negative 4, we have a negative divided by a negative. That means we'll have a positive answer. And 20 divided by 4 is 5. On our second problem, negative 42 divided by 6, we have a negative divided by a positive, which will give a negative answer. And 42 divided by 6 is 7. So we've got negative 7.